Today's episode of the news is brought to you by Linode. Thanks, Linode. So there's a coupon below. You can get $100 off a new Linode subscription. They've got tutorials and guides and setup stuff. They host your server and your website, and your shared objects and all this other kind of stuff. So if you're a web developer or looking to get into web development, or you're looking for a career change where you're going to be able to work from home, you want to get into sysadmin or DevOps or anything like that, Linode's great to practice on. They're great to run in production. They cost less than Amazon and better service, in my opinion. We've used them for years. We use them for hosting for a Level1, like where your Level1 website and some other stuff, forum. Linode's pretty good stuff. You can get $100 off if you're a new subscriber. You can run through their tutorials, their guide. They're amassing a lot of documentation for open source projects, so you can build some really incredible things with open source and on the Linode platform. So you should definitely check it out. And thanks to Linode for sponsoring this episode.
Hello, everybody. Today is Tuesday, February 23rd. I had to look. I wasn't sure. And today we're doing government and social, I think. Was it social? I know it's government.
February's gone.
It is gone. It is gone. We've just come out of a really terrible ice storm, chat. If you guys haven't been watching our stream, everything's screwed here. We finally got our roads and stuff are clearing up finally and warming.
2/3 of us had ice dams and water in places it's not supposed to be.
My power went out for several hours one day. It wasn't great.
I would say, Krista, that you should be more considerate to our Texas viewers, but let's be honest, none of them can watch this.
That's true. Probably most of them don't have power yet.
If you're in Texas and watching this on your phone, you are the real MVP. Thank you. Thank you.
You're also wasting your phone charge. That's
yeah, they're burning valuable charge to watch this.
But yeah, no, seriously, our hearts go out to the people in Texas. Good luck. I wonder if this will lead to any changes in the power grid there.
Nah, because remember we were talking about that the other night. It's been, what, like 10, 12 years since the last one?
Yeah, basically the same thing happened, and literally no change has happened since then.
And then there was the big one in the 90s.
Everything, yeah. And then everyone was like, that's expensive, though. And how often does this happen? It turns out every, 10 years.
Well, it's funny. There's parallels between that and, the trade war. Because we're looking around and we're saying, hey, we're having a lot of trouble getting automobile components, and a lot of people have been having trouble buying microprocessors and other manufactured electronics. So it's no surprise Biden has ordered a review of U.S. reliance on overseas supply chains for semiconductors and rare earths. But much like the situation in Texas, I don't think any meaningful change is going to happen.
Does this kind of sound to you guys like the America First program?
Shh.
Wasn't that evil and racist?
It kind of seemed like that, yeah.
I don't know. I'm having trouble following.
I also, the big part of this too is the messaging focuses a lot on the rare earth materials, which they're not all that rare in most cases, but getting at the rare earth materials has huge ecological fallout, and that's the problem. That's what drives up the expense. It's not as bad as mining diamonds in terms of ecological damage. But it's a lot of ecological damage, and that's the problem. If it weren't for the ecological component, it would actually be pretty easy to get things like neodymium. So, yeah, that's the part of the deal that is a lot like the America First side of it as well. Because it was like, oh, what about the, preserving the forests?
I don't think you're reading between the lines here. What this article about is get ready to go to war with China. And this is why.
But we just found all those rare earth materials off the coast of some island that was going to be fairly easy to get at because the ocean was going to wash all the pollution from mining away because it was underwater.
Yeah, we'll use those on those carbon-based batteries that we hear about every week.
Speaking of unicorns, Maryland is going to become the first state to tax online ads sold by Facebook and Google. Except, wait, this didn't happen.
You're supposed to roll right into the next one.
That's what I did, didn't I? No? What? Is it broken?
Is what broken?
I don't understand. I did roll into the next one. That's what the next one is. Maryland to become the first state to tax online ads sold by Facebook and Google.
Oh, yeah.
No, the next one after that.
Oh. Washington Post.
Yeah, there's an
Subscribe
ad.
to continue reading. Silicon Valley-backed groups sue Maryland to kill country's first ever online advertising tax. Okay. See, yeah, I just didn't get it because I'm silly. So
It's been a hard week, chat. You're gonna have to forgive us a little bit.
you know, if you're not in America, Maryland is not really a very large state, but for whatever reason, a lot of companies incorporate there because
It's the tax laws.
yeah, there and Delaware, both of those places, and I was like, okay, how much of a tax are they looking for? That'll tell us more about their motives. They're looking to collect $250 million for their education program. That seems like a lot for a very small state like Maryland.
And it also only helps them. I don't think a state level policy is what we need here, but at the same time, we're probably not going to get a federal policy.
The law also only targeted companies that do more than $100 million a year of ad revenue. So that's like...
There's only two. But I don't trust that to stay at 100 million forever if it's super successful, right? Because they're getting free money. I think they're going to keep dialing that down a little bit every year if they get the chance.
Oh, the Boiler Snake is very upset about this.
He's never going back to Maryland. Actually, he's not allowed to.
We can't tell you legally why he's not allowed back there, but
He'll be arrested and shot on sight. Ah, those were dark times. Anyway, so this is a trend of companies sort of preemptively suing to stop legislation. We had like 4 stories about that this year. The next one, or this episode, the next one is Amazon sues the New York Attorney General to stop the probe about the thing because the Attorney General said that the New York Attorney General said that Amazon wasn't doing enough to protect workers in the warehouses from the current global situation. And Amazon is preemptively suing to stop them from filing a suit.
But, spoiler alert, roll to the next one.
New York's... yeah, it's like, oh no, too late.
It's interesting to look at the proof here because they actually have gathered quite a bit of evidence that Amazon knew people were sick and had been touching everything, and they just are like, whatever, we'll just keep going.
You mean like the pee bottle thing? It's crazy that like you would have an attorney general looking into this, and you would see the whole like touching everything, but you would also see the pee bottle thing and not be equally, if not more so, horrified, because one of those is a temporary situation, even on like a 1 or 2 year timeline. That's not super temporary, but that's a temporary timeline. Versus the other one is systemic. Why is one of those things okay and the other one not?
Well, the pee
eventually
bottle-
they'll replace all the people that need to pee, and then they don't have to worry about the pee bottles anymore.
Well, that would also replace anybody who could get the virus. But I think the pee bottle is more of a personal choice. My pee is unlikely to encroach on your lifestyle.
That's true. Unless you just pee in your pants and then smear it everywhere.
That's true, but my virus very well could. The other thing about this is the Amazon lawsuit, they weren't suing about like, we're not doing this. They were suing to say that this is not a state level decision and you are not allowed to make it.
Yeah, they were trying to sue to stop it on sort of a technicality. Like, this is not, you're out of your jurisdiction. Let's move it up to the federal level. Kind of like venue shopping? I don't know, but
we can bribe them more effectively.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. I'm sure that we'll hear about that in the weeks to come. We've got a follow-up from a story that we reported on, was it last week? I think it was the week before. We were talking about North Dakota, and so Apple has won a victory as North Dakota votes down bill that would regulate app stores. They didn't really win anything here. They just decided not to. 36-11, North Dakota State Senate voted 36-11. This was going to require by law Apple to permit app developers to use their own third-party payment processor and not Apple, which on the surface of it doesn't seem like a terrible thing, but it's weird that this is coming out of state legislature.
Great quotes from Apple here trying to describe this as like the end of the iPhone.
threatens to destroy the iPhone as you know it, is the quote.
Basically saying, if you like your phone, you better fight this. And it might have worked.
It's also, a lot of the language from Apple makes it seem like the terrorists will win if this kind of thing is permitted, which is just so egregiously dishonest that makes me think that we should accelerate the movement toward opening up those platforms a little bit more.
Also, they could still wall the garden even without requiring their own payments. There would be a little less security in terms of like your payment processing could get weird. But I don't think it would break their ability to moderate that much.
Listen, if you download this wallpaper app, you are funding extremism in Iran. Don't you know that? We would have no ability to stop that. That's just going to send money overseas. It's just...
Well, even if that were true, does it threaten the future of the iPhone? I don't think so.
Yes, because then the State Department will ban iPhones because it could be used to fund terrorism. No, that's not a good thing. Next story, Minneapolis has banned its police department from using facial recognition software. They voted Friday to ban the use of facial recognition software for its police department, but will they actually? I think they're a little late to the party here.
Yeah, but it's cool because they already had those Clearview contracts. Well, you remember the drone stuff that they were doing during the riots?
They get their money.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, they probably will get paid. I guess the taxpayer really just eats it there, don't they?
Isn't that depressing? And probably the Clearview is still going to probably end up with the data, I would say. I don't know that for sure, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's loopholes in these agreements where, like the license plate scanners and all the other camera stuff, the Clearview just gets a copy of that footage. And yeah, Minneapolis can't use the face recognition aspect of it, but all of that data is being siphoned to a warehouse somewhere that's not under the Minneapolis Police Department control. That was the whole point all along anyway.
Great headline, though. Makes them feel good.
Yeah. This is the first follow-up we've had on this in several weeks. I guess everybody in America has been on vacation, the winter vacation. But Fortnite creator Epic has filed a European Union complaint against Apple. This is another escalation in the whole Fortnite and Epic versus Apple on the iOS App Store. So Epic, I guess they're going to fight a war on two fronts here, on two continents. But it's the same basic complaint as they had here in America.
It's interesting that they point out the difference here in that the American legislation is focused on the consumer and the EU legislation is focused on their competitors. I think consumers is the way to go there.
It seems like that would be
better because that would affect more people, but
I don't know. I mean, I could see it both ways. The European model is basically like consumer are cattle. Consumers will never not be cattle, but if the marketplace fosters competition, then we'll have smart people competing to do things. But that didn't really work out so great with the whole GDPR thing, because with GDPR, only the people that were more unscrupulous than Facebook and Google were really able to, get in the cracks in between GDPR. So I don't know.
So Facebook and Google are competing fiercely. Do you think any of us are benefiting from this?
No.
true.
And, in a way, it's really concentrating the monopoly powers if you think about it. Because think about small businesses that are trying to compete in that space. All this legislation is just going to force them out. And then it's literally only going to be Google and Facebook, not Google and Facebook, and then, a dozen entities vying over that last 2%. It's now literally just Google and Facebook, which is crazy.
It does kind of create an arms race type of deal where how do you ever get into that war?
Speaking of wars on things, Uber has lost its gig workers' rights challenge to the UK Supreme Court. So Uber was trying to argue that, hey, it's like a franchise. And the UK courts had an interesting take on this. They said it's not a franchise because the individual drivers don't have really any ability to use their entrepreneurial spirit or cleverness or anything like that to make more money or make themselves more well known. Their only option for improving their station is to just work more hours. Unlike a restaurant owner who might, decide to do advertising or word of mouth or something to promote their
something
restaurant.
new on the menu, yeah.
Yeah, that's Uber's not like that, and so Uber is definitely like the gig worker thing is just doesn't apply. So I kind of agree with that. I mean, I think Uber is
Good for the worker.
Uber is kind of a scam overall, though, because it's really trying to put other transportation businesses out of business so that it can immediately become wildly more expensive than the thing that it replaced was, which I don't know that that's ever going to work out for them, but okay.
Well, they have sort of minimal costs, though, because if you're a driver for them, you're also paying for your own car and its upkeep.
Yeah.
Like Uber doesn't pay for any of that.
Yeah, the value add that Uber has is very tiny versus the percentage that they take. So I don't see how it could ever be $1 billion company, to be honest. It seems like, because it seems like the three of us could run an Uber app, out of the basement here, and it would be more effective. But
Well,
TikTok has been hit with consumer and child safety and privacy complaints in Europe. Yeah, this is nothing new. It's just that Europe is waking up and they're saying, "Wait a minute, it's the Wild West on this new app." Yeah, basically.
my grandkids are twerking on the TikTok. This is not okay.
It's kind of a long article.
It was mostly about the tracking, though. I mean, obviously they track everybody, but under those EU laws, you're not allowed to track kids the same way, and they didn't have any way of dealing with that.
I thought the most interesting thing here was this quote from, I guess, their report, because the European Union wanted to know from TikTok, what's going on, and the summation of this was like 45% of children below 13 have indicated using the app in the United Kingdom, a 2020 study, blah, blah, blah. 50% of children between the age of 8 and 15. Wow, 8.
Yeah.
Impressive.
It's young.
Gotta hook them while they're young, I guess. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I don't interface with children ever, but I imagine everything about a child's life at this point is a smartphone, right? I mean, what else would they be doing?
I guess, yeah, right now, in this particular climate with the thing floating around, there's not a lot you can do, especially when it's cold out. You can't go to like the park or anything.
Well, kids don't go to parks anymore.
Oh,
they're not watching TV.
Yeah, no one watches
playing
TV.
with their phone.
They're doing terrible, terrible things with their phone, trying to get more likes and more popular, because we've got that, that deep-rooted sense of like trying to be social and belong, and just everybody wants to be liked, and this is an acidic implementation of that. I don't know.
If I have to sing sea shanties for 10 hours straight, that's what I'll do to be popular on the TikTok.
That was just impressive. I mean, I don't know. How Oracle sells repression in China. In its bid for TikTok, Oracle was supposed to prevent data from being passed to Chinese police. Instead, it's been marketing its own software for their surveillance work. Yeah. Ouch.
I love these screenshots. And the pitches that Oracle was making to the Chinese state entities of like, look at all the stuff we can do.
Well, but look at this. It's like, this is a presentation given at a 2018 Oracle conference in Redwood Shores, California, depicting data analytics performed using Oracle software. And it's like, what? Wait a minute. What? Yeah.
It's funny because we think about China as this, like they record everything and they track everything, but they explained, at least the police department, they were like, yeah, we do record everything, but we could not figure out how to get through all that data and parse it and figure it out. And Oracle was like, oh, we got you, man. Don't worry.
Oracle empowers social-enabled policing, social data scores. And it's like, look at all this. Look at this. Do people working for Oracle not realize what they're building here? Have they not looked at history at all?
They probably realize and just say, whatever, we get money for it.
Yeah, it's like, it's either this or working at the local Subway franchise. I guess I'm going to do this. Which is kind of horrifying. Now, the big news this week, this is government, but we're probably going to have more about this in business. I don't know. Facebook blocks all news in and from Australia. The change comes as Australia prepares to pass a law that would require companies like Facebook and Google to pay news publishers to carry their story. I think the article here kind of missed the point of this. It's not exactly a link tax, but it's not exactly not a link tax. But it's Google and News Corp, which is Rupert Murdoch. So it's like It's like the whole Batman and Iron Man throwing money at each other, and Spider-Man's like trying to
Just pick it all up.
Yeah, this is ultimately going to be bad for Australia, not because Google and Facebook are going to have to pay for links. That's a whole other side conversation. But because I think this is going to do what the GDPR did in Australia, which is force out a lot of the smaller people. Oh, wait. Yeah, look. The next story. Posts disappear from pages of health authorities, the Bureau of Meteorology, amid Facebook news ban. So, yeah. Government pages like the Weather Bureau, that's news. Banned.
See, we have a bunch of emergency things that I follow on Facebook, and it would really suck if those went away, like during an ice storm.
But these arguments are stupid because they were like, how am I supposed to get my weather? I don't know. A web server could solve this problem. You piggybacked on somebody else's infrastructure, and you are surprised when they don't want you to use it anymore.
Yeah, that's what I keep going back to is like none of these articles are really explaining like the whole picture, and it's hard to dig into. On the Facebook side of it, Facebook's a little bit more transparent. Look, Facebook has never been honest about their advertising numbers and how many people are eyeballs on a link. And in an ideal world, there is competition for traffic to a website in the sense that, an advertiser, like if you have a website and you can make money on people buying subscriptions to your news website or however it is that you make money, you could pay for advertising and get traffic. The problem is that Facebook implements their stuff for analytics. The analytics that they implement for that traffic is very one-sided. The information that publishers need to make decisions to charge appropriately is basically withheld from them. And that's sort of the same with Google Analytics. And so here you have Google and Facebook working together. It's hard to suss out what's going on with Google more transparently, but with Facebook, it's pretty simple. Facebook inflates the numbers that you have for the traffic and seeing ads and links and stuff like that. And if you direct people to a third-party website to get their information without having any information on Facebook or anything like that, then that would be good for the publishers. But that's not what actually ends up happening here. So it's sort of a convoluted situation. I don't know. Can you think of a better way to explain that?
I wasn't listening to any of that.
Sorry. Well, I don't know. Maybe that should be a separate video. I don't know. Just because there's more than meets the eye going on there, and it's really like I see it, but it took me a while to get it because it's really the legislation here is trying to fix the answer. It's not trying to actually fix the market, and I think that's a fundamental flaw in it. I don't know. Changing gears a little bit. Reuters, the U.S. charges 3 North Koreans $1.3 billion in a hacking spree. And this is not a recent hacking spree, which is what I was surprised about.
I don't understand these at all. Why do we do this? These people are never going to be in America.
Is it like a show of force? Because it's like we figured out who they were. It's like, oh, they knew. How did they know? But yeah, I don't get it either. Is it a feel-good thing? Is it so that Sony can claim, an insurance claim and get their insurance policy? Is it like the police report where it's like, well, if we're going to pay out your insurance claim, we need a police report. Like, okay.
They did get one guy, a Canadian, who was laundering their money, and he's probably never going to see daylight again.
Oh.
The UN has warned Myanmar's military as generals defend their power grab. So this is an interesting article talking about stuff going on there, but I think they changed the headline here. The headline was supposed to be, if you look at the friendly URL, it was about the internet blockage, which went on for at least 3 days, maybe 4. I don't know if it ever came back. It shows that it came back a little bit on 215 to 216, but yeah, it's kind of like the you remember what was that other place, Kashmir, where they whitelisted some sites? A few sites have been whitelisted, but there's still blockage in and out. So
I think whatever they whitelist suddenly becomes a conduit for, these protests, and then they ban it again.
If you're there right now, leave us a comment, only so YouTube can get banned for all your friends.
Speaking of things, Ghana's kind of going the opposite way. Instead of locking things down, they are relaxing the rules around spectrum allocation and spectrum utilization to try to bring their citizens more, faster, and cheaper internet in this Bloomberg article.
This was just about changing the spectrum allocation stuff. Honestly, I forgot to call this after I read it because there's really nothing here.
You're like, oh, this is like a feel-good story, and then it was like, oh, there's not really any meat.
What they're doing is probably actually fine.
I saw it as kind of an experiment because, like, we sort of strictly control the spectrum here, and they're playing it a little bit more fast and loose there. Will that lead to interference? Will that lead to, like, one carrier deliberately polluting another carrier's spectrum because they've relaxed the rules a little bit? I don't know. We'll probably have a follow-up on that.
Also, the next story was supposed to go in nonsense. I really, really dropped the sort ball here.
You were thinking about your leaking roof, so...
Let's just do it anyway.
We've had a rough week. We're all just phoning it in. We're not even in focus. It just doesn't even matter. It's fine. Science. Research linking violent entertainment to aggression retracted after scrutiny. So, yeah, there was another one of those studies, and then a lot of people had questions, and then it turns out, oh, we just made this up. Virginia Commonwealth University.
These terrify me because we see so many of them. And how much of our accepted science is just people making stuff up in ways that look good?
You know what leads to aggression? Squeezing people and giving them $7,000 electric bills. That leads to aggression.
Yeah, for a state with so many guns, it's amazing that more violence has not broken out there.
Well, who are you going to fight? The power company? You don't know who those people are.
You shoot the snow.
If you attack the building, it's just worse for you.
Yeah.
The Washington Post has this article. Parler is back, a month after its tangle with Amazon, and it's online, and blah, blah, blah. We reported on one time that it came back online, like with a Russian provider, but then they had their IP addresses yanked out from underneath them. But it's back, but it does have moderation.
I don't think the users could use that first iteration. It was just like a placeholder page. It was like, we're coming back. But now the users can't actually log in. But apparently it's still kind of broken. I wonder if they only have an old snapshot that they're working from.
Probably. Or they probably built it to be too tightly coupled on things like Twilio for the mobile authentication. So, yeah, of course.
The security researcher who scraped them said that none of that had changed. So they didn't really lock it down much more.
Interesting. Recode has our next article. You've been invited to Clubhouse, but your privacy hasn't. Clubhouse has millions of users, millions of dollars, and very few privacy options. So this talks about how Clubhouse really, really, really wants access to your contact list so that it can spam your contacts or, harass your contacts and be like, oh, so-and-so is connected to so-and-so other person. We actually went through the trouble of trying to get set up with Clubhouse and noped out after, problem number 3 during setup where it didn't pass muster.
Yeah, iOS only. Why would you do it? The other thing here is, so if you have someone on your contact list and they are also on Clubhouse, then you have visibility to one another. But if you don't have them on your contact list, but they have you on theirs, same visibility.
I don't like it.
I don't like it either. Just why? Why?
And the next story is probably the real reason Clubhouse is in trouble.
Clubhouse says it will improve security after researchers raise China spying concerns. So it's like, oh, we're going to step up the encryption. Next week, we're going to report how the Great Firewall of China has banned the app.
Well, they found that some traffic was going to China from it.
Obviously.
Huh.
There's probably free web hosting there. It's like, free web host for a successful app. Oh, your app is very successful. Come host with us. And it's like, okay, that sounds good. Wait a minute. Yeah. Facebook says technical issues were the cause of the broken promise to Congress. So the broken promise was they were supposed to provide data to Congress. I've forgotten what it was. It was something.
No. They were supposed to stop showing political ads.
Yeah.
But they were going to send data and stuff to it too, weren't they? Like this many people saw this kind of ads in this demographic. They didn't do any of that.
No, well, maybe, but what they're saying here is they were like, okay, we've stopped showing political ads, and then the markup went through and found hundreds of groups that were still political and were still being advertised, and they were like, what about this? And that's when Facebook responded.
That would be right here. The markup was like, wait, are you still doing this? And then they were like, oh crap, we were. And then it was nothing, and then it was just a tiny little bit, and then there was a letter, and then nothing.
But think about this. Okay, so your job, you're the Facebook moderation team or whatever, you're one of the engineers, and I come to you and I'm like, all right, set me up a filter that filters on keywords or whatever, and I want everything political. And they're like, all right, we'll do it. And somehow that filter managed to miss Donald Trump is our president. That's the name of that group. It's got the word president and the name Donald Trump, who is still banned from Facebook. How does that get through?
That was a technical error. We accidentally used the Unicode O instead of the ASCII O in the string filter. I don't know. Oh, this is the ad that I was talking about, or this is the Facebook knowingly profited off junk ad efficacy estimates lawsuit claims. I figured this would be in business, but I mean that's fine. It ties in with the whole Australia Facebook ad, Google ad thing. Basically, Facebook, like, remember the video ads? We covered this a couple of years ago. Like, Facebook was like, we're big into video. And then a lot of people were, like, looking at the numbers, like, holy crap, the numbers from Facebook video were insane. Turns out it was all lies. Turns out that a lot of the ads were lies, and Facebook made a lot of money off of those lies. So, it's going to be interesting to see how this lawsuit turns out. I think that Facebook knows how insanely bad this is, and they're just going to pay to make it go away. I don't think that they're going to subject themselves to discovery from this, because the discovery from this is going to be really, really damning.
I was going to say, I feel like almost all of our stories about Facebook or Apple or any of these people this week have just been like, well, there's all these lawsuits and government agencies are up their ass, but they're just going to pay them off. And like, that's always the end of the story. It's like security, where the end of the story is always patch your shit.
Welcome to the new American monopolies. Like, this is like the steel monopolies, like the J.P. Morgan monopoly, I guess. I don't know. How do you fix it? How do you fix it without crippling the rest of the things that depend on steel production? That's the situation that Australia finds itself in. And our last story, which is could have been a nonsense story.
It could have been.
Twitch censors live Metallica concert with the dorkiest music imaginable. I love how they describe it as Zelda forest music.
I saw this happen live because it was part of the BlizzCon stuff. I was watching that on Twitch, and it really did like cut it off abruptly because it was like, nope, that's copyright music, and then it just put like weird music over top of it.
Nice.
BlizzCon, disappointing. I know you guys care about my opinion about that, but I thought...
What was your biggest disappointment?
They didn't really have a whole lot for Overwatch. Like, they showed some cool stuff, but it's all for Overwatch 2, and there's no release date on it. So it's like, well, I mean, that's neat, but I can't play that, so...
What
they did
was
say
the
they're
big
getting rid of
announcement?
2CP.
Of what?
2 capture point. That's what that stands for.
All right.
They're getting rid of that map type.
Silly me.
Yeah.
What was the highlight? What was the big announcement?
That they're still working on Overwatch 2, and it's going to have dynamic weather and seasons, and the characters are going to have skill trees. And I was like, well, this all sounds great, but again, can't play it yet.
That's their big announcement for this year?
Yeah, like I don't know if they had anything else for any of the other games. Like,
why even have
like,
the
we're
event?
still working on... I think they're still working on Diablo 4. They're talking about, like, they're doing new versions of, like, classic stuff for the WoW expansions, and I was just like, I don't know, maybe someone else in chat. I didn't watch all of it, so maybe there was something I missed, but it didn't seem particularly exciting.
What do you think they paid Metallica?
Probably 10 loot boxes.
If those loot boxes were filled with platinum, maybe.
Real platinum. What if they paid them in cryptocurrency? That'd be funny.
What's Bitcoin up to right now? Has anyone looked at it?
That's in the business section. You're gonna have to wait until tomorrow for that.
Yeah, but the article will be so out of date in the business section.
Yeah.
We are just a shade under 58 right now.
Wow. All right, we'll see you tomorrow. Thanks.
All right. Bye.